Welcome to episode 64 of the Valley Sports Talk podcast. Also, my goal for this year for this summer is to record in a new spot every time.
That'd be cool. I can join you in that.
I'm not having a set spot, so today I'm at sort of my island. Like you would know where it is in my house there at my mom's. I'm at the
Yeah.
island. Yesterday, last week I was in my room at my house, so I'm gonna try to do a new spot every time. I don't know, mix it up a bit,
Maybe I'll
different backgrounds.
maybe I'll join you.
But today on our episode, we and Brandon were just talking about this before we recorded. We are gonna basically stick to NFL because the NFL draft was, or the first round was last night, the second round is and third rounds are tonight, and then it finishes up tomorrow. So we're gonna talk about that, and also Aaron Rodgers did get traded. Brandon's favorite team traded away their quarterback, so we'll have his thoughts on that. I think we're gonna go a bit into the draft. I know a bit more about the prospects than Brandon does. So he's just going to kind of ask me what I think about the picks. And then next week we'll be back to the NHL because I think all the first round series, if not the second round, will have started by next Friday, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah,
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
second round should be a game or two in. Maybe we'll record earlier, like right as the second round starts, and then we'll just put a disclaimer. But first, oh yeah, today we are going to spin to see who won the sweater from last week's episode. I'm going to spin a wheel, and then we're just gonna email the person. So I don't know if you want, while I get this wheel
Uh-oh.
set up, if you want
We're losing you. I don't know if it's just me or if it's everybody, but I hope it's just me.
like I keep cutting out.
Yeah, but it could just be me.
Okay,
Let's hope so.
that'd be nice. Or that wouldn't be very nice.
My Wi-Fi has always been suspect.
True.
So what are you gonna do? Do you got names or do you just got like numbers and you're gonna go in order of?
I got names. I'm just gonna put names in. I'm just gonna say their names or their Instagram name.
Ooh, this is exciting. Well, yeah, well, Noah's doing that. We want to thank Owen again. It was a great interview. We really enjoyed that.
Yeah,
Um,
I got a lot of compliments on the interview. I don't know if
that
you
was
did.
good.
But I got
And
told by people.
yeah, I did too. It was like, damn, like by a couple people that actually noticed, they were like, you guys are so like not professional, and they were like, that interview was very professional. Like, yeah, it was pretty good. And thanks to everybody who entered. There was quite a bit of entries. Um, so that's good too. Some life notes. I don't know. Me and Noah are going golfing today. The golf course in our local area opens today. I currently work there. It's in very nice conditions actually. It's beautiful.
Yeah,
It
I
is
was
beautiful.
driving by and number one looks like basically like it's brand new. Not brand new, but like
Also, those of you that aren't from Deep River might not know, but for Noah, the because number six is so watered out,
R3.
they you know how you your drive you can sometimes find yourself on seven
Yeah. I
from
know I
six.
saw you guys cleared that out. It's completely cleared out, so I might be okay now.
We cut a tree and hole six is being played. You tee off from the hole seven tee block from the yellows on seven. And it's a par three now.
So I just spun the wheel, and the winner of the sweater is Zach Frazier again.
Oh, attaboy.
There's proof. So there it is. So
As Clash Royale notification
yeah, I
pops
saw
up.
that. So
Cool.
yeah,
Well, congratulations.
yeah,
We'll have to give him the sweater.
yeah.
Lucky him. He's going to be so happy.
He's gonna be, the worst part is I got the DM from him. He goes, "Give me my sweater," and then he goes, "Please."
He knew it. He knew he was going to win.
He knew it was gonna be it was him. But yeah, we'll jump right into this. I think we'll jump into the Aaron Rodgers trade before we get into the draft. So you're a Green Bay fan. So what were your first reactions, opinions about the trade?
Honestly, obviously I respect everything Aaron Rodgers has done for the franchise. He's arguably the best quarterback in franchise history. If you want to say Brett Favre, you can say Brett Favre. But it was time. It was time. It was sort of like just to relate it to Noah, like it was like a Matty Ice situation. the team wasn't great. He still wanted to win. He wasn't going to win in Green Bay. I mean, they went under 500 with him. If you can get something for him, looking at a Green Bay perspective, you might as well. I know you and me were talking before this. Well, it wasn't a whole lot
The
they
more I
got for
look
him,
at
but
it, the better it looks though. Because like
yeah, I was
unless
yeah
something really bad happens, that second round pick next year is gonna turn into a first. He only
yeah. The
splits
only way it doesn't is if he gets
5%.
hurt.
So unless he gets like a season-ending injury, you're probably getting another first, and you get a
Yeah,
second in this year's draft that will be tonight. And there's still a lot of good picks on the board. Like I know you don't know the
100%.
good prospects. There's still a lot of good prospects that can help out that Green Bay team.
I can't remember his name. I was watching a podcast today, and there was a guy who was supposed to go like top 10 who's still not taken. Is he a quarterback? Maybe.
Will
Anyways,
Levis?
but maybe that might
He's
be
the
right.
only court. Well, Hendon Hooker's there from Tennessee, but Will Levis had a 0.1% chance of not getting picked in the first round.
Okay, that's who it
I
is
mean,
then, because they were talking about it. Because he was like minus 1,500 to
be the
get
second overall
drafted in the
pick.
first round, which in like percentage terms they said was like 94% chance.
Yeah, he was literally
But
like,
anyways, it's crazy. But um, yeah, I don't mind the trade. Like I said, for Aaron Rodgers, it's good he gets to go win. That's a good team. Like New York's good, man, and their defense I think is a lot better than people think. Like they they won a game, if I'm not mistaken, when the Jets offense didn't score a single point. Did they not just win on defensive
sorry?
scores? The Jets last year. I thought they
Yeah,
won a
I
game like
believe they
7
did.
nothing.
I believe they did. Yeah.
So this defense is obviously good, but and just bringing Aaron Rodgers makes that defense better in itself. Not obviously he's not a defensive player, but the defense last year had to go into it thinking probably we can't allow more than 10 points, where you can pretty confidently say Aaron Rodgers is going to throw a touchdown or two every game on average. So the defense can now go into it being like, we can probably give up 17 points and we're still in this game, right? So it makes the whole team better. Their offense, obviously, the only hole was a quarterback. Um, and then for Green Bay, you get some draft picks, and with Aaron Rodgers, you're not going to make the playoffs anyway. So if you're going to be bad, you might as well be really bad, and they're
Yeah.
going to be really bad.
I still think that I don't. That division's kind of weak. It was weak last year. It's weak now. The Lions had a bad draft. The Bears are the Bears. The Vikings like the only really competitive team in my opinion. So I still think that the Packers could make a run for that division, being how weak it is. Sure, like you can say the Lions had a good year last year, but they didn't really get much better this offseason. I didn't find at least. It also doesn't help that Jameson Williams got suspended, so there goes one of their top weapons for Jared Goff. But I still think that if Jordan Love can just be like just a slightly above average quarterback, I still think this Packers team can compete.
That's the thing, right? We're not going to, like, you can predict, sorry, how the Packers are going to do, but you're not going to know until you actually see them out there because we've never seen Jordan Love before, right? We've seen him in snippets, but like, I think he started one NFL game in his career, so
Yeah,
we're not going to know.
it's it's gonna be it'll be definitely be interesting. I mean, he was a first round pick for a reason, so I think they kind of you gotta give him some sort of credit. Like, he's not gonna be terrible, obviously, but there will be a learning curve to it for him. Based off my reactions, I like the trade for both sides. Like, I don't think the Packers
Mhm.
were gonna be winning anytime soon, and the Jets are starting to get better. And then last year they were in a playoff spot for a majority of the year, but they just didn't have that the quarterback play to get them over some games. So I think bringing in Aaron Rodgers, who still can play football, you compared him to Matty Ice. Let's just hope he doesn't have a year that Matty Ice did this year after the
Yeah,
Falcons traded him. Because that wouldn't be very good. That means he would be probably one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. But Aaron Rodgers won the MVP last year, so I think he's still got 2 good years in him. And like you said, the defense is great. I mean, they got Sauce Gardner, they got Quinn Williams, they got solid pieces on that defense. And then the offense has weapons. You know, they have Brees Hall, who looked like he was going to be a good running back until he tore his ACL. He should be coming back healthy. You got the offensive rookie of the year, Garrett Wilson. You got players like Corey Davis is still there. I know I'm missing another receiver, Alan Lazard, who they signed. The only
yep.
thing that scares me is the offensive line. You know, Mekhi Becton took him high 2 years ago. He's only played one game in the last 2 years because of injuries. So the only thing that scares me is really an offensive line, and Aaron Rodgers has had a pretty good offensive line his whole career. in
He is
Green
used to a
Bay.
good one.
So it's going to be like, not that I'm scared, like Aaron Rodgers is still mobile even at the young age of 39. But I don't know. It's just that's the one thing that scares me is that the O line um in New York is not as good as it was for him in Green Bay.
For sure. And I mean, yeah, like you said, it's perfect for the Jets. They're going to be competing for a division. Obviously, I don't think Mac's going to be winning a division this year. Tua contemplated retirement because of the concussions he's had. Like you're not telling me he's going to be 100% confident out there. And then it's really Buffalo. Like, and we've seen, obviously we know Buffalo is one of the best teams in the NFL, but they're kind of streaky. Like they can get cold. So
Sure.
it's the divisions. It's going to be a battle.
I think it's kind of cool. Even the Patriots, I think all four teams in that division are competitive teams.
100%.
You're gonna need to win those divisional games to make the playoffs in that
Oh, they're
division.
going to be
Like
so
every
important.
single divisional game, you play each team twice. Each game, all six of those games are gonna be important games for those teams to win.
100%.
So now
100%.
that with that trade, do you think the Jets make the playoffs next year?
100%. Oh my gosh, yes, for sure. Um, the way it's set up, I think they're going to be a wild card team. But like, if I'm thinking about the AFC, like, if I just had to predict, I'm going to say like the Bills win their division, Chiefs win their division, the Bengals win their division, like, and then I don't know, maybe the Jags win theirs. And then if you go to wild card teams, like, I don't think anybody else in the Jags division scares me for a wild card. I don't think anybody, maybe Baltimore, but if Baltimore can get Hopkins, maybe. But like then you got the Chargers. Like they could be. I think they're going to be a first or second wild card team. If I had
First or
to.
second? So I actually am gonna throw a hot take, and I don't think they're gonna make the playoffs. I don't know
Oh,
why.
really?
I said it to my dad last night watching the draft. I said, I don't know. I just have a feeling that they're gonna underwhelm. They're gonna go like 9 or 8 or 8 and 9, and they're not gonna make it. Like I know 9 and 8 teams made it this year. Like the Jags made it at 9 and 8, the Dolphins made it at 9 and 8. Um, but just looking at like, I think the Bronco. I know the Broncos are like everybody thinks it's all a joke, but I don't see how they can be as bad as they were. Um, even the Chargers, I think they get better. Obviously, you got the Chiefs. Um, will the Colts be good? You know, they got a rookie quarterback, but they have the defense, so it's all about whether how good Anthony Richardson plays. You know, they took him fourth overall, so they got to have some sort of faith or outlook for him. Are the Titans still competitive? You know, I don't think they're going to be competitive, but who knows? And the biggest question in the AFC for me is the Browns. Like they have
Yeah,
a
they
good
can still be
roster.
sneaky.
They have a good roster, but like I don't know if it was just Deshaun couldn't figure it out coming back after being off football. So maybe he turns the clock back and becomes the Deshaun he once was before a suspension. And this even like last year, the Steelers were competitive. Like the AFC has so many competitive teams in it.
Oh, Aaron Rodgers going to the AFC just makes that division like not that division, that conference a
A
bloodbath. Like
conference. Like the
there's
NFC,
like
NFC is so
uh,
weak
you
compared to
can
the
literally pick like you can pick like four teams that won't make it, and the rest like the other 12, you're like I could make a case for all of them
all
making the playoffs.
100%.
It,
It,
it's
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 gonna be
definitely going to be fun.
that was mainly my one reason. The AFC is so competitive, and I feel like just I don't know. Just feel like they have a disappointing year. Maybe Aaron Rodgers doesn't really get used to a new system because he's been in Green Bay for what 18 years. I don't know, but I just had one of those weird feelings. It could be a hot take. You said, do you think they're
Well,
gonna?
it might not be, man.
Who
We'll
knows?
see. You never know.
But yeah, so
You
as
never
we
know with them.
mentioned, the NFL draft was last night. I know Brandon probably wasn't watching it, or he was probably watching it on his phone or like keeping up with it. And
I was watching the Leafs game. Can't
yeah, I
lie.
was about to say that. I know you were probably watching the Leafs game, which they ended up losing and going back to Tampa. But I had it on Mike Peters, so I was watching that and kind of looking back and forth because my dad had the Leafs game on. Um, like I said to start, I know a bit more about prospects than Brandon does. Brandon probably knows the name, but wouldn't know how they play. I know a bit. I could probably do like the top 15, and then maybe a few. But I think we're gonna kind of go through the first round a bit, and I'm gonna give my thoughts on the picks, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we can do that. Obviously, Braden's Carolina Panthers had the first pick, and to nobody's surprise, really, they went Bryce Young.
Bryce Young, yeah.
Uh, yeah, smaller guy, but I mean it's been the number one pick since basically the start of last year, so I think there was no surprise there.
Yeah,
But what
yeah.
do you think?
Like you said, he is small. He's the same height as Kyler Murray. He's the first ever quarterback under 6 foot to get taken number one overall. And the last time the Panthers took a quarterback in the first round was Cam Newton. So he does. I'm not saying, and it was number one overall. I'm not saying there's a lot of big shoes to fill, but I mean, Cam Newton definitely was a good first overall pick. I also think that the Panthers have a good sort of um like system for him. They have Frank Wright, who's been around a lot of quarterbacks. He coached Peyton Manning, Andrew Luck, Nick Foles, players like that, players that like winning quarterback. I know I just threw Nick Foles and everybody won a Super Bowl, so you got to sort of throw him in there.
Yeah,
And then
100%.
I also think that they have a good offensive line, which always helps a young quarterback, especially a rookie. And then I think their their weapons are sort of underrated. I didn't really like the Thielen signing because he is 32, but I mean having a good receiver like Thielen, he's not like a top end receiver, but he's a good constant above average receiver, and he's been in the league for so long. I think that's a great sort of weapon for Bryce Young to sort of start his career off with.
100%. Um, Going number two, Houston, Texas drafted another quarterback, CJ Stroud. Just reading up and watching the podcast, from what I gather, um, he's a bigger body. I've heard that he's a pretty accurate passer, but if things start to crumble around him, he struggles to get outside the pocket. But if he's got a pocket around him, he's deadly. But I mean, so that's kind of tough being going to Houston. So we'll see how that works out because he kind of needs that pocket. But what do you think?
It was sort of until the pick actually happened, it was really we weren't sure if the word was that the Texans were going to go defense, which they ended up. Oh my God, Brandon Antonio Brown just signed with the Ravens.
Did he?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Wow. I mean that has been their biggest problem, right? They need wide receivers. I don't know if Antonio Brown's the play. I was kind of hoping they were going to get D Hop,
Yeah,
but
I know that was talked about yesterday at the draft. But yeah, getting back to CJ Stroud, you like you said, he's a big body. The one thing I know this isn't like big, but they do like an S2 cognition test, which basically reads like a quarterback's ability to make decisions. And CJ Stroud only got an 18%, which is the lowest of any quarterback in this draft, which you could take that with a grain of salt because like it's just a cognition test. Like it's not actually the way he plays football. But I know that a lot of people were talking about that. And Houston was debating not even taking a quarterback in this draft and going defense, which they ended up trading. I guess I can just talk about the third overall pick too, which is Will Anderson Jr., who's a big edge rusher. Personally, I loved both the picks. I was a big CJ Stroud guy. I just thought he was a bigger and he has a better arm than Bryce Young. I personally had him over Bryce Young in my quarterback rankings going into the draft based just off Bryce Young's height. We have seen Kyler hasn't had the most success with his height. But I just think Houston trading back up, getting a quarterback for their future, and the player we all thought they were going to take it to was a great move by Houston. They had to give up a lot, but I think it'll pan out.
yeah, and like you said before the pick, there was a lot of talk. Are they going to go offense? Are they going to go defense? And to address that, they made a trade going up to the third pick as well. Just saying we can't we can't choose which one we want. We're going to take both of them. Taking Will Anderson, edge rusher. From what I've heard about him, he's a big boy who's really quick. He's one of the most highly rated defensive players in a very long time, getting a lot of comparisons to Myles Garrett, Jadeveon Clowney. Reading up on him, he had more career stacks in college than Aaron Donald, who was great in college as well, obviously, and he's just getting a lot of praise right now. A lot of people have him coming out as the best player in this draft. So what do you think?
Will Anderson being the best player? I think last year there's a lot of talk of him being the best player, and then he had a bit of a down year this year. Obviously that he still had a great year, but like a down year compared to the year he had last year. I think there's definitely chance that he becomes the best overall player in this draft. You know, it's kind of hard comparing a quarterback to an edge rusher, but I think there's definitely a chance. He's got like I actually really like the Myles Garrett. I think he's a bit smaller than Myles Garrett. Like I like the comparison, but I like the watching his highlights. He does remind me a lot of Myles Garrett with like the power moves he uses and the finesse moves he uses to get off blocks.
100%. Um, and then fourth, we had the Colts go to the, just as you were talking about, to the rookie quarterback. Um, he looks to be quick, very mobile. Apparently he lacks some accuracy. And I think what I read up on him is did he just start playing quarterback like 4 years ago or something like that?
It wasn't yeah, he was a tight end coming into the
Yeah,
recruiting class, and he's the one thing that people were scared. He's only started 12 games as a college quarterback. Like this was the first year he started and only year he
yeah.
started as a quarterback, and he lacks the ability to make the simple throw. He'll miss like a dump down just because like if he gets pressured, he'll just miss the easy throw. But like you said, he is very quick. And he's big. He's 6'4", like 220, I think. So he's a big guy. Like he reminds me a lot of Josh Allen, with his arm talent and the ability to get out of the pocket and run to gain some yards. He also doesn't really slide like Josh Allen does. He takes that hit to try to gain a couple extra yards. But I really like the fit, especially with Jonathan Taylor in the backfield. I think a lot of like run pass options are going to be able to use in that system. And they do have some weapons in Michael Pittman there. And the defense is still pretty good. So, like I said, if Anthony Richardson has a good first year, Indy could be a competitive team.
Yeah, just reading up, he's 6'4", 244
240. I was 24 pounds under.
with a 4'4", 340.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
and his arm strength is off the charts.
so just by reading that and listening to what you've had to say in the podcast I've listened to, he seems like could possibly be the biggest boom bust guy in
I
this
agree.
draft.
He's
Yeah.
definitely a boomer bust.
So then Seattle, goes, sorry, fifth overall. They choose Devin Witherspoon, first cornerback in the draft. From everything I was hearing, he was always the consensus number one cornerback.
I think up until the combine, he had a better combine than a cornerback who went later in the first round. The one thing that's kind of cool about this is he was a 0-star recruit coming out of high school. So
Okay.
in 3 years, I think he was a senior. I think he might have been a senior this year. So in 4 years, he got himself from being a 0-star recruit to being a top 5 pick in the NFL draft. It was a pretty cool story. I actually was kind of not shocked with the pick, but like I thought they were going to go D line with either Jalen Carter, who we'll probably get to talking about in a couple minutes, or an edge rusher. Um, but I think pairing him up with Tariq Woolen on the side, and they also have a rookie last year in Kobe Bryant, and then they still have two very good safeties in Jamal Adams and Quandre Diggs. I think this secondary is one of the best in the NFL if Witherspoon does eventually pan out. But this was a bit of
100%.
shock, not a shock to me, but maybe a bit of I didn't think that was sort of their route that they were going to go.
Yeah, I totally agree. Next we had Arizona from a trade with Detroit. They go offensive tackle, Paris Johnson. Just from the picture I'm looking at him, he looks very big. Obviously, I guess he'd have to be. Some weaknesses I've heard is that he might not be the strongest guy in the world, so he's gonna have to work on that. But with the size he's got, and I've heard he's got a little bit of speed to him, I think he might be able to figure that out.
Yeah, Arizona was originally actually going to take him at number 3, but then the way the draft started, they figured that they could trade out, so they traded back to 11, I believe, or 12, and then they eventually traded back up to 6 to get their guy. I heard that that Kyler Murray was like calling the GM as the draft was going on, like you got to get me this guy, like I want this guy. So I feel like whenever you have a quarterback like Kyler calling them and saying they want this guy, it's pretty clear that you got to make your quarterback happy, especially Kyler being in their eyes the quarterback of the future. Um, it was kind of cool. They interviewed his mom after he said that he is excuse me. They said he's a gentle giant off the field, but on the field he's a dog. So getting that from your mom, he did look pretty big. Obviously, I don't know as much about tackles. It's kind of hard for me to base my opinion off this, but I feel like getting a cornerstone tackle like him to protect Kyler Murray, who was running out of the pocket a lot last year, is a very good move for Arizona moving forward.
100%. And then with the seventh pick, the Las Vegas Raiders went Tyree Wilson, D line from Texas. By reading up, listening, and seeing pictures of him, it looks like he's got the perfect body type to play this position. He's long. He's not massive, but he's not small by any means. So looking at that picture, it seemed like he's super quick, but by things I've heard and things I'm reading, it seems like he's kind of slow off the snap.
Yeah, his frame, like you said, is definitely an edge rusher frame. He missed all last year with a broken leg last year, so this year I think it was a bit of a rehab year. It wasn't his best year, like you said. He is a bit slow off the snap, but his power moves are very good, as what I've seen. The Raiders have not had a very good history in first round picks, so hopefully for this guy it's better. But I also think that he got put into a very good situation, being able to learn from Chandler Jones and Max Crosby is a very good place to learn edge rushing from.
Yeah, and then with the eighth pick by the Atlanta Falcons, I'm kind of interested what you have to say about this, because we've talked a lot in previous and other football things, and then when we've talked about fantasy, you feel like it's not a good decision to go running back high in the draft because you think, I know you've said many times, it's a fillable position, you feel. So Atlanta went Bijan Robinson, best running back in the draft. What do you think about that?
I going into the draft, I knew that they were going to take this guy, but whenever Jalen Carter was still available there, I really wanted them to go Jalen Carter, just because, not because I don't think Bijan Robinson is going to be an impact player for them. Like obviously now looking at their weapons, they have a lot of very good weapons to help out Desmond Ritter, who's going to be their quarterback going into the future or into the season. But I really wanted them to take Jalen Carter. I knew that they're going to still take Bijan Robinson even after Carter was there. But everything I've seen on him, like I watched highlights on him last night. I'd already watched highlights on him before, but after they picked him, I went and looked at his highlights. He's a very I think that he could be the best player in this draft. Impact
100%.
wise, like he's very good. His change of direction is nuts. Like he can stop and start and just cut back. Like it was nuts. Also, like I said, with the weapons, you got Drake London, you got Kyle Pitts, you got Cordell Patterson, you got Mac Hollins, who's a big receiver. You got Scotty Miller, can be your deep threat. You got Tyler Algier, who rushed for over 1,000 yards last year. Like they set up Desmond Ritter with a bunch of weapons. So I see what Arthur Smith and Terry were doing, sort of making our Desmond Ritter's life a bit easier. I'm not a I'm not against the pick, but I think they should have went defense in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%. I think, I mean, just looking at their last three first rounds, you go Bijan Robinson, you go Drake London, you go Kyle Pitts.
Three
Uh, they've
impact
they've
guys.
they've gone every position. They're boosting that offense, and it's gonna be fun to watch, anyways. So, pick nine by the Eagles. They went Jalen Carter, D line, Georgia. Looks to be a beast. Um, yeah,
Uh,
let's hear it.
yeah, so going into the year, and last year, he was the number one guy in this draft. Like he was the number one, and a lot of analysts had him as their best, like number one prospect. Like obviously it's hard to, like I said, it's hard to compare a D lineman to a quarterback, but a lot of analysts had him as their top player in this draft. And it was just based off a lot of off-field issues that teams started taking him off their draft board, which is why he dropped this far. But he kind of fell right into Philly's lap. And I think Philly had the best first round of the draft. I don't think we'll get to him, but they took another guy at 30 who was a top 15 pick consensus, and he dropped to 30 in oh, forget what's his name. He's another Georgia player, but anyways, I think, like I said this a lot about three players, but at the end of the day, in 10 years, we could be looking back on this draft and saying, why was Jalen Carter not the first overall pick?
Hmm.
If he can figure out his off-field issues, which I think he should be able to, And they're also pairing him up with a former Georgia teammate who they took last year in the first round. They're pairing him up with oh my God, Jordan Davis, the big D tackle. They're pairing him up with him again, and they were unstoppable last year at Georgia. Jalen Carter has all the talent to be the best player in this draft. It's just if he can figure out his off the field issue and if he can get his work ethic up. I know he's a bit out of shape right now. If he can get that up, he could be a generational talent for Philly.
Yeah, 100%. And like we said before, with the sixth overall pick, they got a player to protect Kyler Murray, which then translates right into our 10th overall pick. We have the Chicago Bears drafting Darnell Wright to
Yeah,
protect Justin Fields.
yeah, he's a big boy. He's a big power. They said O tackle, but I think he's going to move into guard. But Justin Fields was the most sacked quarterback last year, so I feel like doing this is the right thing. Justin Fields was constantly moving out of the pocket, and if you think he's their guy moving forward, then you got to protect him, right? Everything I've seen from this guy is he just bowls people over. Like the amount of pancakes and bus rides I saw this guy giving out in his college tapes is unbelievable. So I think it's a great pick, especially for a run first offense or a runnable offense like the Bears have. I think this guy can be a great lead blocker for Justin Fields running quarterback draws or whatever running back they have.
100%. So just so I don't get any picks wrong, I was looking at a website outlining every pick and then giving their kind of grades.
Mhm.
And one of the worst grades by far, which we're going to skip to, is 12 by the Detroit Lions. Uh, Picking a running back when they have two very
Starting running
good running
backs.
backs. Yeah, like they had two running backs that last year were starters. They got Swift. They got oh my God, I'm blanking. Chicago,
Montgomery.
David Montgomery. Um, is there? Do you have any explanation for this, or like why are they picking a third running
So
back?
in my opinion, I thought Gibbs was going to go first round. I didn't think it was going to be as high as 12. I thought it was going to be in the late 20s. Like I thought Kansas City at 31 might take a shot on him. Going at 12 is a bit of a shock considering I think he's a very similar player to DeAndre Swift. He's a dual threat running back. He can run the ball, but he can also catch the ball. And I watched an interview by their GM explaining the pick, and they didn't seem very confident in DeAndre Swift or what the stuff he can do. I know he had injury concerns last year, but they just did not seem confident with him. So I think, like I said, the Lions had probably one of the worst drafts in my opinion. I just
I
think that they
agree.
could have got a better impact player here, and they had another first round pick who they reached again at. I
They
think it
took
was
a corner, right?
no, I thought they took a linebacker.
I okay. I'll look. You're
Um,
probably right.
like 17 or 18. I thought if they got Gibbs at 17 or 18, it would have been a better pick. But I
You're right.
think there were so many more impact players available at 12 that they could have taken, considering they have two impact for running backs already. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do see a day two DeAndre Swift trade, considering that these guys are very similar running backs.
Could very well be. And
Even Gibbs himself said he was shocked to go this high. Like in his
I bet.
he said he was shocked.
And lastly, we'll just talk about Green Bay because we started with Green Bay. We got to end with Green Bay.
Yep, we'll talk.
Um, 13th overall, Lucas Van Ness. Everything I've been hearing is he's just another Preston Smith, another Rashawn Gary. Uh, Green Bay loves to draft edge rushers, defensive players in the first round. I can't remember the last time they went offensive.
Yeah. I kind of thought they might go receiver for a guy that went to the Seahawks at 20 and Jackson Smith and Jigba, who was the number one receiver in this year's class. I had a feeling they might go him here because they need receiver. They have Christian Watson. So who's that other young one they have?
Romeo Dobbs.
Yeah, Romeo Dobbs, who Christian Watson looked good. Obviously, had that massive touchdown streak last year. In my opinion, I think this is sort of a Preston Smith replacement. I wouldn't not be surprised if in the coming weeks he does get cut because it does save them a lot of cap. Obviously, Rashawn Gary's a great player, but yeah, Luca Van Ness, it's sort of not a boring pick, but it's a Packers pick.
It's
If
a Green Bay pick.
the Green
It
Bay
is a Green
pick.
Bay pick.
Also they have Kenny Clark. They'll still have a good defense. It didn't really blow me away with their pick. I thought it was a bit of a reach. I thought they could have traded back and still gotten him at maybe 17, 18, 19, 20 around that. He still probably would have been available at that. pick. And that's the guy. I liked Nolan Smith, who went number 30 to the Eagles over Luca Van Ness.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
This is what it is. Packers pick. They'll always go that way. It's who
Mhm.
they are. It's who
Yep.
they are.
Since we only have a minute 25 left in this recording, I think we'll end it there. We are recording this on the Friday. This video is supposed to go up in an hour 50, so hopefully it's up by 3 if it is. You guys are watching it, obviously. Again, we want to congratulate Mr. Zachary Fraser for winning that sweater. Hopefully in the future we'll be able to have some more giveaways. But yeah, if you guys enjoy, make sure you like, subscribe to never miss an episode, and we will be back next week.
See ya.